And a good start for this show, I think, is about uncertainty and how a major car rental brand leveraged the analytics and performance media tools available to do a radical pivot into a surprising opportunity that it found during the pandemic. Welcome to the Insider Summit, an old friend of MediaPost, Alex Sutton. He's the Director of Digital Acquisition at Avis Budget Group. He's Head of Integrated Media, Audience, and Measurement Strategy for the brands and focuses especially on performance. But Alex is also a good old friend of ours. He's on our advisory board and has advised me on this event for many, many years. So Alex, let's talk about the what you saw, particularly at the beginning. By the way, hi Alex, how you doing?
Oh, hello.
We just talked the other day, so I'm jumping in.
That's right. Hey Steve, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? You're in Jersey, right? You're coming from Jersey?
Yeah, I'm at home in Raritan, New Jersey.
Raritan, okay.
Yeah, we have some snow. It's starting to end.
Yeah.
It's like a little clipper came through and dusted us with a bit of snow. But yeah, it's starting to feel a lot like Christmas.
So at the beginning of the pandemic, you were seeing some interesting consumer responses to what we assumed was the dominant topic of the day, safety, right? So why don't you bring us back to what you guys were seeing, because a lot of your business was about to shut down because of the pandemic. But tell us what you were seeing from the consumer behavior side, because that's what this story is about.
Yeah. I mean, so at the beginning of the pandemic, so I'm in car rental. As well as car sales. All rental car companies have to sell their cars, and we're in travel. And at the beginning of the pandemic, like just the bottom fell out of all of our businesses across travel, ours, all of our peers, as states shut down, businesses stopped traveling, went remote, and most of America just stopped traveling overall. And
we have our chart right here to reflect some of that.
Yeah, and there we have it. So. And this is just an excerpt of travel industry month by month total visits, if you will. Mm-hmm. A snapshot of the industry, and you'll see in blue it's 2020 monthly visits, and the orange is 2019 monthly visits. And you'll just see it just really just fell out as the pandemic. We went into full. Mm-hmm. Full kind of initial peak, if you will, right. Like this W or WWW kind of pattern that we're in now. But and states started shutting down, people stopped traveling, and they stopped searching for travel. And so most of our research indicated, and we're getting research from everywhere, and it all indicated that safety and safety protocols were top of mind in most states, and particularly amongst those people who were still planning to travel. So about 50% of the people in the marketplace just dropped out of the marketplace, and so those who were left, we saw some interesting things, but we saw a number of different things about the group of people who were still traveling, but the number one concern that we saw was around safety protocols. So we launched our Avis Safety Pledge and our Budget Worry-Free Promise, and announced our partnerships with Lysol, the ABG Medical Advisory Council, with professionals from NYU and Columbia, and Johns Hopkins, and then as well as Hip Hop Public Health, and then we started communicating this pledge and our pledge and promise across all of our channels, including our search and performance channels. So this was an all-in campaign, meaning that, hey, look, everything is going to have a very similar look and feel, mm-hmm. Consistent messaging and as such. But as very seasoned marketers and very into experimentation, we tested these against a lot of deal copy, because research also indicated that people also had a high need. Those people who were willing to travel had a high need for promotions or rate discounts as well. Mm-hmm. We're also good motivators.
Do we have some of that copy? Is that on one of the slides?
We do. Yeah, we do.
This is some of the stuff that you were doing.
Yeah. So what we found was that when people, so what we did was we started testing them sort of head to head. And this is an example. And we tested tons of iterations of copy, and on average, we saw a lift of about, just that our click-through rates are about 98% better. Equal kind of conversion rates on the back end, if you will, but getting the click from searches, both branded and non-branded. The deal-oriented copy was much better in terms of getting people, winning the moment, if you will. And so, we combined with a bunch of other data, we sort of hypothesized that that once people are already searching for travel, they've sort of already done the math in their head around, they've already done the risk calculation, and are already and really have moved on to sort of their second tier concern, and looking at looking for a really great rate, right? Because particularly in that first resurgence, there were some really, really great rates to be had out there.
So the qualitative research was telling you that safety was one of their primary concerns, but when you're actually looking at the behaviors, you're seeing that was a concern that actually evaporated pretty early on, and then a whole set of other priorities kicked in later.
Yeah. Now, I will also say that we ran some OTT and some online video with safety campaigns, and it really performed well. And so I think it helped bring people who are on the fence of being in the category and being in the consideration phase or active renting. It brought them into the fold. But at this point, in these more performance-oriented channels, I think people have already done that math, and around risk, around the safety and the risk of it all, and they're really looking for to get the best deal and really just meet their best, all of their other sort of rental needs, if you will.
Now, the core of the story that we wanted to get to is what happened after that. In that, obviously a lot of your business simply went away for a prolonged period here. And yet at the same time, an unexpected opportunity popped up. There was an unexpected set of behaviors that started growing around car sales. So why don't you explain that piece to us?
So car sales is a really interesting thing. So I feel like it took me way too long to learn this. So I've been with Avis Budget Group for the past 6 years, and it took me. I feel like it's so embarrassing. It felt like it took a couple of years to actually realize that a big part of running a profitable rental car company, is selling your vehicles, right? And so, as a rental car company, your goal is to purchase a car for as a lower price as possible, monetize it as much as you can in terms of rentals and ancillaries, and then sell it for as much as you possibly can, right? And so, we have a small but growing direct-to-consumer car sales business called Avis Car Sales, and so it just like everything else, probably in I'd say most categories and most industries, we took a big hit in April as the pandemic sort of initially hit. But then a series of really interesting things happened, which were really, just call it, all of this is unprecedented, but it's just the fact that there's a big series of things. So one, there was all this pent up demand, because April's apparently one of the biggest car sale months, right? Particularly for used cars, right? People typically get their tax return checks and such, and there's a lot of demand in the marketplace. So that wasn't happening because the states were shut down, shut down a lot of businesses, and so that there was a lot of pent up demand. Then you had OEMs like Ford, Chrysler, and such. They shut down production, right, because of the coronavirus, and that increased increased used car sales demand. And then you have, and so there was that demand, and that was brewing, and it started to, really start to, you saw the numbers really go up in May. And then in late May, early June, Hertz announced bankruptcy. And it just increased interest and awareness in the used car rental car category by about 8-fold, at least temporarily. For a moment, Hertz Car Sales website, which is typically some small fraction in terms of monthly visit volume of even the largest of the car supplier websites for the rental side. Um, it it eclipsed. I think it was in June. It's eclipsed anything in the category.
You've got this new opportunity. You've got this great new opportunity,
Yeah.
but you've also got a whole new set of competitors. Now you're not only going up against Hertz's huge inventory that's come into the market, but now you're competing against Carvana, CarMax, a whole host of others. So what was the key challenge for you in that? What was the competitive challenge for you as you're starting to think out what your media strategy is going to be?
So it was a time of it was a really lucky time for us, right? Because we had all this demand in the marketplace, but the challenge was figuring out how we could quickly capture demand, capture it really efficiently, because the category was growing, but our budgets were not, right? And so we had to make what we had go a lot further, and so. That was really the primary challenge was like, okay, how do we, because we're still, it's not, Avis Car Sales is not a business of and of itself. It's having a lot of, there's a lot of demand, more than it typically would have in a given year. But yet it's part of a larger company that has financial commitments, right? And it's in crisis. And so that was the big challenge. We had to do something different. If we really wanted to scale it, have an impact on the business, we had to do something a bit different than we had before. So
as you're coming in to say search, for instance, what then is the challenge? What do you have to do, and what were some of the key things you did to beat out competitors who were much more better funded, had bigger inventories?
Yeah, and I feel like everyone was a bit better funded. Anyone with a semi-national presence that was really well funded. But it's interesting. So it really kind of came down to somewhat of a search and keyword strategy. And the industry practice, or best practice, as best as we can tell from competitive intelligence, is that there's a heavy focus on branded search keywords, then used car, location keywords, then used cars, and then your make and model. And with the increased, with the extra demand or unanticipated demand, there were CPCs which have been suppressed because everyone pulled their money out of the market. People are jumping back in, and those are really expensive. And so, our strategy at the time, didn't look much different than the rest of the industry, right? Heavy brand, used car location, used cars in general, and then make and models, right? And so, however, that wasn't a good path for us to achieve better scale with our fairly flat budgets. And so, we had this mismatch between our keyword strategy. We started looking at it and really looking at it heavily. We saw there was this mismatch between our keyword strategy and our business model. For one, we're Avis Car Sales. We don't sell a wide range of cars. We have a lot of cars for sale. At one time, we were selling over 100,000 cars. But we don't have them across a large breadth of makes and models. And we don't sell cars that are older than, at the time, they were older than 2019 or 2018, 2019. Now we have no 2018 in our sales group. So there was a mismatch for us going after used cars. Everyone looking for used cars, we're looking for 2018 or below, or older, right? They can be looking for models that we don't have. We don't happen to carry Hondas, right? And so it's a bit too generic, if you will. And
what did you come up with?
Because of the competition, cost per clicks were incredibly high. Our click-through rates were incredibly low, and our audience data suggested that we actually indexed high in terms of conversion on consumers with heavy purchase intent, right, for certain makes and models. And so, that was the first bit of unlock that we had, and we tried adding make and models keywords to our accounts. And tried to leverage our typical bid strategies and even overlaying some audiences. And we got better, but not great results. And then, but that little spark of results, a little bit of spark performance gave us an idea that we could leverage something that we used on the other side of the business with DSA and as a way to efficiently scale traffic for these make and models. And so on our car rental side of the business for location, right? People who are looking to rent a car in a particular location, we switched over our generic strategy to DSA, and just negated all of our branded keywords and leveraged our above average page structure, page links, and good page performance across different locations to help us hone in on this growing car rental near me and all these other kind of location and very unique keywords, and do so at a low cost per click, at smart bidding, and do it at scale and start to scale it with a really good return on investment. So we did the same thing for car sales, and so as a way to start scaling this audience that we saw these audience work for make and model, and it makes sense with our business. We have lots of Toyota right now, lots of Toyota Corollas, and we have them for like $3,000 below KBV. Like we're giving it away, and we're not really giving it away. We're selling, but yeah. So it worked, and it worked pretty quickly, and so
What kind of results did you see?
Oh man, so we saw about 3 to 4 times our previous impression shares for generics overall. Just to make a model. We didn't have a lot of make and model pages that were searchable, that were indexable and searchable and usable for DSA. So we started building some out. Our cost per clicks fell to about a quarter of what we had previously, versus our I call a straight up bidding and bid strategy. Our conversion rates went up, and went up about double on conversion rate, tapping into the right audiences, people who want to. And on that side of the business, a conversion is a lead. Someone submits a lead of some type, and our bounce rates went down about 25% or more. More in certain areas, but
so what did you learn about the relationship? Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just saying, it just indicated that we were really honing in on the right audiences. Yeah.
What did it teach you about the relationship between keywords and DSA and those channels, and using them together better?
So it's interesting. So if we talk, well now our Google reps are believers. And I don't get to speak to too many people about this, but I know that when we were sold on DSA, it was a new way to explore keywords, and we use a separate agency for our car sales business as we do for our rental business, and this was a bit different for them as well, right? They hadn't quite leveraged DSA in this way, but as we began to understand how DSA works, and basically selects keywords, which your select pages will have a pretty good quality score, and be able to work efficiently and add smart bidding to that. We were like, all right, well, if we can start to shape it and start to customize it, maybe it can be used in a different way, and not just for exploring new keywords, but to actually scale efficiently. Scale interest and get a lot of qualified visitors coming in to our site in a really efficient way. And we've tested, we've even taken the same pages, the same keywords, and tried to do it separately. And for some reason, DSA works a heck of a lot better. But yeah, so that was new for the agency as well, and it was just something that's tended to has worked really well for that business.
And you sort of had to push your agency to do it.
Yeah. Oh, we had to push them. They were like, no.
Against conventional wisdom, right?
It has a different use case, and it pulls in a lot of branded stuff, and makes it a little confusing. Like, no, we're going to negate all that stuff. It was like, you guys got to trust me. This is one time you're going to have to do what I say, and we'll just see. I'll take look if it works, you guys get the glory. If it doesn't work, I'll take the blame.
So I want to signal to the audience, if you have questions to ask about Alex in this program, please raise your hand. Lisa will get to you, or send a text question. I have a final question about what you've learned out of this about consumer behaviors and planning for uncertainty, about what difference between what people say they want and what they want, but also about changing behaviors, and if we learned from this last year.
So in all this, I think what we learned is that we have to keep experimenting, right? And keep measuring, right? And so there's things I would love to share publicly, but let me just say that we've had to take significant, with the second surge, demand has fallen off once again, and across our rental businesses, even across our car sales businesses to a degree. And it's we've had to scale back our spend, and in doing so, we still have to learn, right? Because consumer behaviors, I believe coming out of this, there are going to be some behaviors that change, but there's nothing about what we are doing in the pandemic that I think will last. That I'm not going to take a guess at what's going to last and persist, even when we return to more of a kind of new normal, if you will, and the markets, if the travel market and car sales market somewhat normalizes. We got to strike while it's hot, but take those learnings, but not sit on those learnings. You have to continue to learn and continue to monitor and see where the interest is going, what platforms people are using. Right, people are at home a lot more, and they are on the internet a lot more than they were before, or rather, they are connected. Let me not say just they are connected a lot more than they were before, and their behaviors, consumption of media and things that they're looking at, that it all changes. And so, we've and not to mention, someone's already mentioned all of the different changes in the tracking and data landscape, right? With cookies disappearing, new policy, existing policy here, new policy on the horizon, all these challenges. We've got to keep monitoring, full funnel to understand how things are changing.
I know we have some questions already. Let me bring Lisa back in to pipe some of them in.
You give me a mic or a microphone thing, I'll keep going.
Well, you stick around for the roundtables. There'll be loads of time to talk to everybody.
Hey, Alex, it's great to see you again. Well, before we get to an actual real question, Chris Lehman, he wants to buy a Polaris slingshot if you have one available. He's like,
can he buy me one? Can he buy one for me too? I would like one.
All right, okay. All right, well, our first question is from Thomas Rosquin. Go ahead, Thomas. Let me, I can ask it for him unless he's jumping in. Well, he wanted to know, what did you do to your inventory or model pages to make them stand out from the competition?
Oh yeah, so we don't have a ton. So what we did was, we have an SEO agency that went back over them and started revising them so that they had a lot of relevant content for that make and model. Also, pulling in a lot of things around the years that we carry, right? Because I mentioned before, like, I don't want to just maximize clicks. I want to maximize qualified clicks. So if someone's looking, let's say, for a slingshot, wow. All right, I'm sorry, I'm reading Chris Lehman's slingshot. Someone's looking for a Corolla, and if someone's looking for a Corolla and they're not looking for 2018 or 2019 or something in that price range, if you will, then I really wouldn't want them to click, because we're not going to have what they're really looking for. So I'd rather they just kind of keep going. And so we had, but they really had them optimize them for make sure that they are fully SEO optimized, if you will, and make sure that we get have really good page performance on each of those pages, and it seemed to work really well.
Great. Okay, and I have another question from Michael Hart.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was curious if across the board, if you guys are seeing lower costs on social like Facebook and Instagram, or if, in different industries you've seen any spikes and increases. And so.
Yeah. So initially, like we saw the media rates across the board that we had, I think I've seen in the past 8 years.
Nice.
In general, I think that's just because a lot of people pulled out of the marketplace. We have not been on social media since July-ish on a paid perspective. So I can't really speak to anything across social since then. Only to what I've heard. But at that time, it was I was really pleased with the rates that we were getting. Yeah.
Awesome. Glad to hear.
Yeah.
Great. And I think Annie actually has a question for you as well.
Hold on, let me get my video. Woo!
All right. Hey.
I was wondering, are you seeing any kind of difference in like car buying or car rentals by DMA or by state because of the pandemic? Like, because I know everybody flocked out of the cities. Like, what are you doing there? Are you doing anything about it?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's really difficult. So I know that at times we wish that we had more cars, but we're not a super high margin business. And so as demand sort of fell out, we had to do what we could to kind of get rid of as many cars as we possibly could, stop new contracts, so we could right size the business. And it's incredibly expensive to move fleet. And so, you're right. What we're seeing, what you just observed is exactly happening, particularly in New York City, right? New York City, we are like at prior year levels or above. We are way above for weekend rentals, way above. The only thing we lack is like, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? So if you are thinking of renting and you want to get a better rate and you're in the city or you're in a major city, think Monday to Wednesday, Sunday to Wednesday, Sunday to Tuesday, and because right now we have, just like everyone else, we're constrained for cars. We also saw a huge uptick in off airport, right? And so one of the things is that we have such a heavy airport presence, and we're seeing such high demand for our off airport locations, right? And so whereas we were probably I don't want to let's consider everyone's on an NDA, but who knows, we may have shut down additional off airport locations if the pandemic had not happened, right? Because we just weren't, we weren't monetizing the same way. We don't do a lot of repair, rental type stuff, and so.
That makes sense. Nobody's flying. Everyone's driving everywhere.
Everyone's driving. Those who will, and so that's so that's like there's some really interesting. And then we've seen what we call underage drivers enter the market in a major way. So college students, they're taking semesters off, or they first it was just they wanted to come home. Then they're home and they're like, I want to go somewhere. And so we adjusted some of our rates, not in New York City, because actually, there's actually really good sound like actuarial data around a lot of the rates at which young people get into accidents and vehicles. And it really does play out. But we tried to do our best to waive fees where we could to mitigate our risks around renting, so we could actually open up vehicles to rent to drivers who were like 18 to 24, and not give them like a super heavy surcharge, right? And so so there are a lot of different shifts that we saw. We tried to move and adjust our media strategy around them as best we can. From a fleet perspective, like I said, we're trying to get more cars to New York City. If you're outside of New York City and you need to go one way into the city, I can guarantee you, if you're going somewhere near New York, you're gonna get a great deal. Right? And so,
one thing wants to take you up on that. Nate,
I think there's someone. Go into the chat room, Alex. There's some people waiting for you there.
Yeah.
Listen,
okay,
Alex.
Right.
Code or something. Let us know.
Yes,
okay, now we're selling cars. All right, now we're renting and selling cars. We've got.
And if
We're gonna stay. I'm bringing this train back onto the track now.
Okay.
Alex
all right,
Sutton,
all right.
as always, thanks so much. We appreciate it. And stick
Steve,
around
thank
for the
you so much
roundtable.
for
I'm sure people want to talk to
Thank
you.
you, MediaPost.
Bye,
I'm
Alex.
gonna hop
Thank
to the chat.